So this is Energy Lab Systems 1. This is the lecture for week 1 and 2, and we're talking about shop safety. Where is the safety layout? Where are the fire exits, fire extinguishers? How do we use them? Emergency lights. How to avoid danger in the lab. How to behave in a safe manner in the lab, and how to be considerate to people walking around you. You might be walking in an equipment and somebody's walking next to you. So be mindful of who's around you. I'll go through some OSHA safety. So always think of safety first. If you go to big companies or any kind of company that has a lot of production or manual work, they will have to enforce some safety rules required by OSHA. And I highly recommend taking OSHA 10 exam. You can take it here in the lab. It costs $70, and it's called OSHA 10 because it takes 10 hours. Very easy. It's basically you go there and you watch 10 hours of videos and do some few questions, and everybody passes, of course, but it's a really good thing to have on your resume. You can do OSHA 30 as well. 30 hours. Question?
No, I was going to ask you the OSHA 30 too.
Yeah. OSHA 30, OSHA 10. This is really good for the employer. They know that you're serious. They know they don't have to put you in the course training. Yeah.
Do you know when the OSHA 30 classes are?
It's any time. You can go into the website. The website link is in the reference in the Blackboard. So you can do it at home. You can go at home, pay the $70, and just take the videos. You can play the videos and go do something and come back.
About 30 hours straight.
No, you can take it over time. Even the OSHA 10, you do it over a week. Because you can save. That's not reasonable. So basically, they want you to know what kind of ladder to use. It is very informative. Basically, it's like what gloves, what kind of glove do you use, what kind of ratings do you have. It's a lot of it's common sense, but you'll be surprised. You will learn something when you do OSHA 10 and 30. So consider safety as your first priority, and report any unsafe behavior or any safety issues. If you see a puddle of water under a boiler, before you start the work, you should inform the instructor in the lab what's happening, what looks unsafe to you. See some wires sticking out. Take a picture of that. If you go to a job and you find something that's unsafe, everybody have a smartphone now, I'm assuming. If you go on the job and you find something, before you start, take pictures of everything, just in case nobody will say, hey, you did that. No, this was here before I came, and it has the date and time on it. So if you go to fix a boiler and there's a water leak, and there's some rust, some stick out wiring, make sure you take pictures of those before you start the job. And if you determine, it's up to you to determine if the job's safe or unsafe. It's your own life, it's your own health. So if you find something that's unsafe, you can say, no, I don't want to do that. If you find some, in a basement, you go there and there's a lot of asbestos tiles or fiberglass tiles unwrapped, you can say this is unsafe. If the basement is ill ventilated, there's no ventilation, it's very stuffy and muggy, you don't want to work there. If it's considered as confined space, what is confined space? It's very small, there's a measurement for that based on the boiler. If it's confined space, you probably are not supposed to go there. We do not think about the air we breathe, but everything in the air goes through your lungs. So make sure you always wear a respirator. We have some here. Respirators are not really that expensive, but you can, if this is going to be your job, you can buy some heavy duty respirators with the filters on it. Looks like the stuff that you will wear after the zombie apocalypse. But they have filter for everything. Sulfur filter, particle filter, and it's very comfortable. Yes, it looks kind of funny, but you better be safe than sorry. You're young, and you don't want things to accumulate in your lungs. Some stuff, when they get into your lungs, they never come out. They take forever. Especially asbestos. And they were able to pinpoint asbestos cancer to differentiate from any other cancer. So again, whatever, be kind to your body now, because you're gonna need it for a long time. So think of safety first. If something goes wrong, do not panic. This is very, very important. I keep saying that, do not panic. It's okay. First of all, ensure your safety and safety of others, and we'll deal with it later. People do not like to report unsafe behavior because they're afraid of the consequences. They're afraid of the paperwork, what have you. That's the incorrect way to behave. you should always report things because it might happen to somebody else. And we're always afraid of the consequences. Don't let that fear put your safety and others in danger. Inform somebody immediately if you have spillage. You're gonna spill some oil, it's okay, we'll clean it up. Injury, if you cut yourself, don't just hide it and leave it, you don't know what's in there. Cuts with nails, equipment, or metallic object can cause what? What kind of disease you can get out of rusty stuff? Tetanus.
Tennis, yeah.
So make sure you have your tetanus shot. Probably the school will have you have a tetanus shot before you register. So that's really important. And there's also, so be careful not to cut yourself. And if you cut yourself, make sure you have your tetanus shot. Cuts, old equipment, rusty stuff, spillage, equipment problem. If it doesn't run correctly, don't use it. And again, I know we don't like to use gloves. I personally don't like to use gloves, but I do because I have to. After a while, things will get to you. And I did say your skin absorbs everything. You understand that? If you put lotion on your skin, it's going to go to your bloodstream, it's going to go and break down your liver. So everything you put on your skin will go into your body. So wash it immediately, don't let it get to your skin. The only thing that your skin does not absorb is what?
Water.
Yeah, the water. Otherwise, the only time you go shower, you get 3 pounds. So you don't absorb water, but all the oils and other chemicals will go through your skin. It goes very porous and it will go to your body. So be careful. And probably if any of us had gasoline spilled in their hand or diesel, probably you'll feel funny for the next hour or so or day. So it's cool. Before you start the lab, make sure you have all the required equipment and full instruction. Don't go there and try to figure it out. Before we leave here, let's make sure we have all the equipment. You go to the tool shed, collect all the equipment you need, and start. If we don't have enough, usually we do, I try to secure that every person have the tools they need. If we have to share, take your time, and take your turn, and let's be courteous to each other. I know there's a time pressure, people want to try to leave faster, but the lab is 3 hours. Take your time. Time planning is very important. We said that again, and Damien actually said that. You always think it's gonna be a 15 minutes job. You always get optimistic about the time. Usually it's not. Something else happens there. So give yourself plenty of time. That's why when you call a mechanic and he says, oh, how much does it cost to change the brake? He will say, have to look at it first. Because if he tells you an hour and he goes there and he finds he has to change the rotors or e-machine, then he's going to charge you more time and you're going to be upset. So let's not be too optimistic about time, be realistic. And time gauging is something that comes with experience. And sometimes that's the customer or the client is not telling you the true story because he doesn't know how to explain it. So look at it first, try to assess how much time it will take you. Make sure you have all the equipment, say that will save time and effort. And also sometimes we try to use the improper tools, the wrong size wrench and the wrong size screwdriver. And what happened to the nuts? They get stripped, and that's the most frustrating and annoying thing ever. So make sure you have the right tools before you start. Do not touch any of the equipment that not within your assignment activity. Meaning, you're working on a boiler, I assigned you a boiler to work on, do not go and jump and work on another AC or something else. Make sure you see your plug, see the electricity, this is what I'm working on, I'm not gonna work on anything else. Same story goes when you go in somebody's basement to work on their boiler. You wanna find your wires and your plug. You don't want to go and unplug the washer and dryer or some other equipment. Make sure you know what's happening. Tag it. You can mark it as well to know this is what I'm working on right now. Electrical safety. This is some of the OSHA electrical safety. It's very general, but it does apply. So OSHA is Occupational Safety and Hazard Agency, which they try to put some guidelines for that. And I forgot the name of the woman who started the OSHA practice. She's the first American PhD holder. She graduated from the University of Michigan from the 60s. I forgot her name, Marianne something. But anyways, she's the one who actually put some time and effort into trying to study what would working for like 12 hours to 8 hours does to your body when you're exposed to a lot of vibration, a lot of noise, a lot of non-natural positions like kneeling or like bending over too much or whatever. This guy, over time, how would that affect your body and how would that be bad for you long term? So based on that, they started the whole OSHA organization. It's a great movement. So to preserve your body and your health, because again, some stuff you can do for like 1 second and move on. But if you do that repeatedly, over and over and over again, it will cause you to have problems. Who would have thought that sitting on a computer can be hazardous? Over time, 8 hours a day, you're going to develop what is called carpal syndrome, carpal tunnel, and you also can have some neck problems, back problems. Because think about it, it's a long time, 8 hours. You're not designed to sit on a computer and bend over for like 8 hours. I developed severe neck pain out of just looking at the monitor the wrong way. I was just bending my neck a little bit further. I didn't notice it. Seriously, over like the course of 6 months, I developed this really annoying pain at the bottom of my neck just by stretching out to look at the monitor a little bit. So I had to be mindful to sit back and keep my back straight. And that was very, very painful. I couldn't sleep sometimes out of that. So these little things can be a problem. Your fingers also, the dexterity. After a while, twisting over time, it will hurt your fingers. If you're always trying to put nuts with your fingers, it's good for one nut, but if you keep doing that with your fingers all the time, it's going to cause you some pain. And why live with that? Again, it goes over and over. Diesel oil is very toxic to your body. Not the smell, because it's not very volatile, but if it comes to your body. There's a joke between oil people saying getting the fuel number 2 to which damages your nervous system. That's from exposure to oil all the time. So, and you'll see people who actually be in the field for a long time, they will tell you a lot of advice, probably Bill can tell you. A lot of people who kneel all the time, within 15 years they will have to get knee replacement. You don't want that. So, and it's something that are easily preventable, just using knee pads or using something soft on your knees. Probably people who do sports have the same thing, right? They tell you if you do the wrong move, over time it's gonna cause you some injury. People who do weightlifting, the wrong move sometimes can cripple you for months. So you don't want that. So assume that all overhead wires are energized. That's what we're working outside. There's overhead wires that you don't see, whether in the ceiling, whether outside. They are always assume it's live before you make sure it's not live. No wire is safe to touch. What do? We use our magic wand. Go and make sure there is no voltage going through it. Double check that you have this and there is no electricity in it. Never touch a falling overhead power line. Call electric utility company to report falling into your lines, whether it's inside or outside. If you see a wire that's stripped down and touching something else, call an electrician. Or if it's outside, call the power company. And this happens more than you think. Stay at least 10 feet, 3 meters away from overhead wires during cleanup or other activities. Overhead wires usually have a lot of power in them. And if you're working in the basement, you'll see a lot of wires on top of you. They're mostly energized. Be careful. And try not to get too wet. If you get wet, try to go dry out and come back because you are more conductive when you are wet and sweaty. So be careful of that. Before you start the work, be aware of the wires around you. Look for conduits, look for wires, and also go and check that there's no electricity. I know sometimes you'll get impatient, you just want to go and get the job done, but 10 minutes can save you a lot of trouble. And develop this habit. Some people have these habits all the time. Develop these and they will stay with you for a long time and it will enable you to work for long, have a longer career than others, instead of you being injured and being off the job. And sometimes bosses can be a little bit pushy. What's taking you so long? Hey, this is what I'm working with. This is the time I need. If this is a problem with you, I will move to something else. But I've seen people getting pushy. Why is this taking so long? I think he'll be more upset also if he gets injured and he has to pay for worker comms and hospital. So don't let anybody push you or bully you into like doing something that's unsafe. Too much verbiage, don't worry about it.
I see.
Listen. So never operate electric equipment when you are standing in water. This will be very common in our career here. AC might have a puddle underneath it, that's from the condensate line. Boilers can have a lot of water around it, or it could be leaking because of it has water in it. So be careful, don't stand in water, even with these little shoes. Try to cut off the power, drain the water, then start working. Never repair electrical cords or equipment unless you are qualified and authorized to do that. So we said electricians, they are the only ones who can repair wires. If you look at the wires coming from the panel all the way to your equipment, you see it's very stripped out and it's pinched, or somebody put a screw through it, you can stop the job and tell them to go and fix that wiring. There are alternatives you can do. You can get a proper extension cord and get the power all the way to the boiler, fix it and unplug it and tell them to plug it in. These wires are repaired, and put that in writing. It's good to have evidence. When the insurance claim is filed for something happening, the house is on fire or something, they gotta go and look who's working on the boiler, what work has been done, take pictures. Always protect yourself. And luckily, again, most companies now, they'll give you an iPad. You can write everything down. If you're in a hurry, make a voice note. Most phones have that luxury now. Make a voice note, this is what has been done, and go back then and document it and copy the customer. These things, I know they get a little bit tedious, they take time, but if you develop these habits, you'll do a good job. And also, you'll make it easier for the next person. You'll go to the job and, okay, what happened? So you'll see a sheet or a card next to the equipment that tells you, X and Y person came there and did this kind of work at this day, and this is what happened. We left the equipment running, and this is the combustion efficiency or whatever. So if you go to an equipment, somebody bought a house, the equipment has not been used for a few years, it's been mothballed. Before you plug it in, again, you have to have an electrician come and check the wiring, make sure it's sound before you can plug in your equipment. Otherwise, supply your own power from a plug. And make sure that the plug is 15 amps rated. You're not gonna remember that now, but you will remember it soon. 15 amps is the number of amps you need for a boiler. If you work in a damp location, inspect electrical cords and equipment to ensure that they are in good conditions, free of defects, and use a ground fault circuit interrupter, GFCI. As you noticed yesterday from the tour, all of our plugs in the shop are GFCI. They all will activate and interrupt as soon as there is some kind of ground in the shop. Because we have water, we have leaks, and we have everything together. We have gas, oil, refrigerant, and tons of equipment. So we don't want to allow ground to be in the shop. Always use caution when working the electricity. I know it's gonna sound repetitive, but be careful. So, safety equipment. Fire blankets, we have 3 fire blankets in the shop. Those are used to smother the fire. What feeds a fire? How does a fire happen? What do you need?
Oxygen, fuel.
You need oxygen,
Fuel.
fuel,
Heat.
and heat. And heat has to be enough to ignite. So most of wildfire happen by people. Somebody leaves a cigarette, a bonfire, and it starts. Usually it does not get hot enough to ignite small leaves. However, it does happen naturally as well. So those are wildfires. So fire always needs fuel, air, and a source of ignition.
I thought it was objects that were conventional.
Yeah,
Yeah, fuel.
this is what you need to have fire. So
Wildfires and stuff like
yeah,
that.
when you cut one of those 3, you have no fire. So let's say ignition. So what is the source of ignition in the shop? Capacitor as ignition, heat, that's source of ignition, flame, that is source of ignition, and also a stripped wire. That's 110 volts, that can cause a spark and can be a source of ignition. Once you have a source of ignition, if the conditions are right, the fire will keep going. will you start a chain reaction, the fire keeps starting. That's why when we have wildfire, usually during the summer when it's hot and dry, if it's hot and humid, it's different. If it's damp, it's really, there's no way to ignite that. It will be hot, but not hot enough to cause a chain reaction. That's why it's also hard to ignite oil. I mean, you will see that. You can throw a match in the oil, it's not going to catch on fire. Not gasoline though. Gasoline will go. But oil is really hard. You have to make it very thin, vaporize it, and provide the right amount of heat all the time. I will talk about that later. So the fire plants, what they do is they smother the fire, meaning that it will cut off the air supply. So if you have equipment that's on fire, you can use the fire extinguisher, or you can go grab the blanket and just cover it. And that will eliminate the oxygen, and eventually it will shut down the fire. So, who in the past used the Yankee candle, the jar? So what do you do to shut off the candle? You cover it. And you see the fire diminishes because there is no more oxygen. It will go off.
I actually played with that. I actually put it there when it was going down. I put it up and it back up.
Yeah.
Because
So,
it's like the air got
so
back
you're
to
basically controlling the oxygen level. Fire extinguishers, we will look at those in the shop, and there are three main fire extinguisher types. Some are filled with water, some are filled with CO2, and some are filled with powder. They are designed for different kind of fuel and different kind of fire. So for electrical fire, you want to use either powder or CO2. Powder is better. For oil fire, probably you use powder, or you will use CO2. You do not use water. Why? Because water is heavier than oil, and that will just agitate the oil. If you're frying some food, and the frying pan catches in fire, what is the first thing they tell you not to do?
Don't throw water on it.
Do not throw water on it, because water will exacerbate the problem. You cover it, use a fire extinguisher, use powder, and that's the best way to do it. So we'll look at this. So let's say in case, never happened before here, we have a fire in equipment, what happens? What do? Do not panic. Go and grab the nearest fire extinguisher and try to put out the fire. And if you find it's more than your capabilities, just leave. Leave and report, call the police, and they will do something. 3911 is the number from campus that you can call. And I'll show you how to use a fire extinguisher. Goggles are very important again. I cannot stress that more. It's really important, and I've seen people always get it short, so please get comfortable. Buy goggles that you feel comfortable. I know when you walk sometimes, and some people get sweatier than others. I get sweaty and my goggles get foggy. There's anti-fog, and there's better ones with ventilation. So get something that you are comfortable with, so you can keep it on all the time. Gloves are very important. We provide latex glove, but you can get something that's very fitting to you. It's $10 for like 100 of them. So they're very cheap. These are these latex? No, these are rubber. This is durable ones. You can use for over and over again. So this is good. But also there's the thin natural ones. It's $10 for a box. We have some here, and also get something that mechanic gloves like those ones. Those ones are very good because they also give you protection, protect your skin. Some objects we are handling are very sharp, so it's good to have some gloves with you. And I know some of them, they can get very thick, so they can eliminate your manual dexterity. The best thing I find is mechanic gloves. I've seen them at Ace and AutoZone. They give you good movement, and they fit very well.
The Makita one?
Yeah. Shoes, no open toes shoes. Make sure you have shoes that not porous. What happens if you have sneakers? They are protective, but what if you spill oil on it? It's gonna go through the shoes, through your sock, and through your feet. And by the time you go and wash it, it's too late. It already got into your body. So get some shoes that are insulated, at least liquid insulated. So if you spill something on it, it's not going to go through your feet. And again, if you want to use these things, make sure they're comfortable. Get something comfortable. Get comfortable socks. So you'll be there in the job for sometimes 8 hours. So get something that is comfortable. Invest in that. What else? And also for the shoes, if you have non-slip, like these ones, they are non-slip. That's pretty good because they give you good grip. Sometimes there's oil, there's water, and the floor. It's good to have something that does not slip. And also make sure that you have good footing. Don't step anything on halfways or sideways. Be careful when you step around the house and all the crevices you go in. Do's and don'ts. Tuck in loose clothing, tie, long hair, keychains, etc. If things is loose, it can get caught in a machine or in a pipe. Wear stable shoes and non-slippery sole. Avoid liquid on the floor and inform instructor if there's any. If you spill water, oil, or anything else, let us know so we can clean it. How do we clean oil? We use something called speed dry, which looks like cat litter. It's the same thing. Speed dry is cheaper though, and it's more absorbent. So you spread that on the liquid, then you brush the liquids out. Avoid hitting and bumping into equipment. Try to be careful where you go and don't do abrupt movement. There are pipes probably that are going to be head level, so make sure you don't bump your head. We don't have to wear helmets, so let's keep it this way. Watch out for your head again. Sideways, side movement. When you bend over walking something, don't step up really quickly. It did happen a few times. Just be careful. Act professional and practice safe life behavior. But don't, if somebody is handing you a screwdriver or a wrench, don't throw it at him. And hoping they will catch it, a hammer or so, and place things in a safe place. Do not place, I know you work with a tool, pliers or screwdriver, you put it on top of the burner, then you forget about it, then you go and turn it on and it falls inside or something. If you ever work with cars, it's one of the most annoying things ever. You lose the wrench and it goes inside the radiator compartment, and good luck getting that out. Actually, I just changed my battery and I lost my stabilizer. I'm not gonna get it again. I don't know where it went. Somewhere inside the engine, I guess, or whatever. So this is, I looked at, I just couldn't get to it. So I'm gonna buy another one and put it there. So again, those little screws, have a small cup or something to put in, because again, you're gonna lose them. And losing them is not the problem. Sometimes where did they go is another problem. What if it goes inside the squirrel fan? You're gonna hear it clicking the whole time. It's annoying, it happens a lot. You do something, it falls inside, good luck getting it. There's a magnet, the magnet probe, you can get that way, that there's this little handed grips. You can get something like that.
Like an antenna you stretch it?
Yeah, it has a magnet in it.
Oh.
But what if the screw is not magnetic? What if it's a plastic piece? You get those grippy things. They're really cool. It works. But imagine the situation, you'll be like tired and hot and you want to finish and it's the end and
That's full blast.
F-bombs everywhere. It's not going to be good, you know, so don't do that to yourself. Don't misplace equipment, tools for others to trip on. Make sure things are around you. You're not the only one. Don't leave things there. And somebody will come and trip on it or get lost. Again, if you are working in somebody's house, make sure that nobody's around you. The dog or the kids or whatever. Tell them, hey, this is unsafe and it's against insurance policy. I know you want to watch me. You can go watch from farther away. But don't have people around you because they can get hurt, something can happen, and you will be responsible for that. Do not leave running equipment unattended. This is one of the issues I have a lot in the shop. People will do something, they go take a phone call, the boiler overheated, and trips on safety. Hopefully it does. What if it doesn't? Get another scenario. So I had students who actually left the boiler running. The boilers here run only once a year, so you can expect them to get stuck a little bit. The safety valve was stuck. It built a lot of steam, and the safety valve popped. But it was very scary. So all the people running had to jump. So don't do that. It's not going to be unsafe. Luckily, there are some safety measures, but it will be started. Be near flammable material, dust or fumes without a face mask. Again, use a face mask. The fumes coming from the gas are toxic. The dust coming out of cutting stuff is toxic. You don't want anything in your lungs. Your lungs are very spongy. They absorb everything, and you'll pay for it later. And over time, maybe one time your body can take it, but over time it will really damage your body. So be careful and use that. And trust me, once you get used to some kind of things, you don't want to live without them. But for example, you wear your hat every day. If one day you don't have your hat, you're gonna feel naked, right? See? Why don't you do the same thing with goggles? So after a while, you feel something is a mess. Okay, I'm always used to my goggles and my gloves and my shoes, so something is not right, I'm gonna go and check. So you develop these habits. We used to wear the same thing over and over again, you just feel not the same. But develop the same thing with your safety equipment. Question?
And sometimes you just so used to it that when you take them off, and like you still have that feeling that you have them on, and you forget to put them back on.
Yeah.
Because you still have the feeling
Yeah.
that you have them on.
Yeah, it becomes part of you. Another thing that people do not pay attention to is earplugs. We don't have a lot of noises, but if you walk in a place where there's a chainsaw going on, somebody's breaking, somebody doing something, be kind to your ears because you're young now, but the ear has some follicles that over time they disappear, especially with sharp noises like cutting saws or hammering. Over time, it will get damaged and you will not listen to the same frequencies again. Probably people who go to really rough rock concert suffer that faster. So be careful. People who wear earbuds all the time, loud, that's not good for you. So be careful. Most phones actually they tell you when you raise the volume. By the way, this is going to be dangerous. You're killing your ear, and you just decrease it anyway. Who wants to miss that beat? You know what I mean? But don't do it too much. Eventually, it will catch up to you. Imagine 8 hours and somebody's cutting ceramics next to you. It's very sharp. It hurts. So be careful of that. We had a guy actually in a gas plant who lost his sense of smell completely. So in gas plant there's some sulfuric acid, sulfur gas that is very toxic and it has no smell. And it was the rule that you don't go walk in the plant without mask. He went there 10 seconds. He got exposed to that gas and he lost his sense of smell forever.
That sucks.
Yeah. So follow the instructions. They are there for a reason. Do not have shortcuts. Oh, it's only going to be 10 minutes. 10 minutes is enough. 10 seconds was enough for him to kill his sense of smell. So be careful, and I will expose you to some stuff that you will actually never thought of, like radium gas in a house, CO2 in a house. That could be also toxic and dangerous. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to give you a good sense of reality and to be aware of what's around you. Tool room. We'll show you the tool room. There's a pipe fitting section. Supplies room. It's where you get all your tools and supplies. And if something is not there, let me know. Me and my lab tech will try to make everything available. Boilers. So can somebody tell me what is the difference between a boiler and a furnace? Benny, huh? Yeah? You're close. What is the difference between a boiler and a furnace? Lance?
Boiler boils the water and turns it into a steam.
Yeah?
And then the furnace will burn oil, right?
Yeah?
Or gas or whatever the case may be.
Close.
Or wood. I don't know.
You get half the answer. Boiler does boil water. What does furnace do?
Furnace just uses an open flame and moves it with a motor throughout the house, whereas a boiler heats the water and travels through baseboard, which
Close.
heats the room.
Isn't it cold? Doesn't furnace use cold?
No, the can use both of them can use either gas or oil.
The furnace produces the heat though, doesn't it? Doesn't it?
They
expel
both
that
produce
energy?
heat.
That's-
So the main difference between a boiler and a furnace: boiler boil water, furnace heat air.
Yeah.
Heats air. So if you have a hot air system, that's a furnace. They're both the same. One of them just heat air.
Isn't that what I said?
You said gas.
Okay.
Okay. I take it back. You're right. So furnace heats air, and boiler boil water. They can be the same thing. It depends on what are we heating. Are we heating the air or are we heating water?
And boilers are much bigger than.
Huh?
I said
Not,
boilers.
not necessarily.
No?
Not necessarily. So they look the same, they seem the same, they have the same burner, same fuel, but one of them have a water heat exchanger at the top, and the other has a big air handling unit. So if you have an AC that also will produce hot air, probably you have a furnace.
Are they both equally efficient?
Yeah, they're the same equipment, it's just whatever you run through it. It's whatever you will run through it. What else do we see? boilers, electrical board sections. We have some boards that we have practice on, and they have all the equipment on them. So we're gonna wire those at some point. Next week, we'll do some wiring on the boards, just to get you oriented a little bit. Some tools, wires, wire nuts. Does anybody know what a wire nut look like?
Like a little
Different
screw on the outside.
Next week, we'll talk about them, tell you the shapes and how they're used, what is the proper way to use a wire nut. Wire strippers, never use your teeth. Don't let me catch you using your teeth to strip a wire. I will be very angry. Don't use your teeth, you use your nails, don't use your fingers, use the proper tool. It should be very easy, it should come out really quickly with the proper tool. And I've seen a lot of people, they use the teeth. Why? Why would you do that? You know how much dentists cost for teeth? It's a lot. It's not worth it. So use the proper wire stripper. Voltmeters, these things, they measure, they only detect voltage, they do not measure it. How do we measure voltage? This is the voltmeter. You can measure voltage, resistance, and amperage. Multimeter, this is a multimeter because it has all the jobs in it, but in the past they had a voltmeter, ohmmeter, and ammeter separate. Now they all combined into a small little tool you can put in your pocket. This does everything. This also have a voltmeter detector. It can also detect voltage. So if you can have this one, it will do everything you need. And also it has a clip-on meter, which is very good. It's how you measure amperage. Screwdrivers, electrical tape. There's only one type of electrical tape that is approved by the UI. It's the black one. It has to say UI approved. Don't buy the cheap one from Harbor Freight unless it says UI in it. The UI one is kind of pricey. And we do not use electrical tape to connect wires. We use a wire nut, and you use the tape over the wire nut just for protection against humidity. Screwdrivers, Phillips, flathead, and there are the hex ones. I will show you. Pliers, they come in different shapes and colors. They have the needle nose, the needle ones. They have the big one. They have the adjustable wrench. So we need to know channel lock. They all do the same job, but there are ones that are more appropriate than others. Pliers are very important to twist wires together. Do not use your fingers, because trust me, within a few minutes your fingers gonna get sore, and that will affect your capability to finish the job. This is the tool room. It has changed since this picture, but everything is labeled. Spend some time there and try to know where the tools are to make it a lot easier. And if anything is missing, let me know. We try to make it and keep it very stocked. This is the pipe fitting areas. We have steel pipes. This is the old pipe threader. We have a new one, and we have some devices to do the pipe jobs. We will do one lab for pipe cutting and threading. And we'll do 2 labs for copper cutting and threading, and not cutting and soldering. That's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy that. And soldering is a really, really important skill to have. So if we want, we can even make it more, because a lot of employees look for people who can do soldering and brazing. Brazing is more important in refrigeration, because a lot of refrigerant lines get brazed. Brazing means that you crimp the pipe and you weld it. Treehouse is where we have boilers and furnaces, and we have the heating applies to the top, so you can turn on the heat here, fix it, and go upstairs and look and see if the heat is coming out or not. So we have steam. We have 2 steam boilers, a furnace, so the hot air will come from here, and another furnace here, and 2 boilers. So we'll use this for this semester to see how it goes, and by the end of next year, we'll be able to do the entire wiring in here and connection, and also see it function. This is the diesel fuel tank. Diesel fuel, again, is the same as fuel number 2. It has a switch now, so you just turn it on before you try to turn on your boiler, because it's very long distance from the tank to the boiler. So turn it on so it will add pressure, and then turn on your boiler. These are the industrial electrical boards. We will wire those in April, and those for industrial commercial controls. It looks intimidating, but it's not. He will go there with a map and tell you where everything goes. And again, everybody does it. It's very easy, and we'll walk you through it. So next week we'll just wire one light bulb. This is how it starts, step by step. Any questions? All right, so that's it.